Welcome to Force Pro Sports ZAP Report. Today is day 2 of training camp, as we call it, or just training, Gen Pub games, where Space Marine players are getting in some random team practice games for Brisbane Internationals 2025. Let's dive right in to what we're finding. So first up on the ZAP Report, we're just going to do a general overview of the nightly stats from August 2nd, 2025. We had a bunch more Brisbane players enter the fray this time. So if we look at the top 10, Rusty Taipan, Rusty Twin Rook. Beans had a awesome heavy game in the top 10, 29 MVP, and Sabo, rookie from Loveland, having a 25 MVP commander game. Awesome job. So Brisbane players coming in, generally dominating the night. We look at overall stats. Taipan with an average of 35 MVP on 2 games, which is the difference between those top 2 players and the rest of the pack is pretty silly to think about. We got Rook coming in number 3, Fireball DK 19, Basel, Twin, Beans, Glader, Sabo, and the Fear Turkey finished out today. Not as many people with 10 plus games. In fact, no one does. Only 13 or 12. I think one game was ended a little early. Were played today, so a little less of a sample size to go off of, but here are the standings for the day. Most medic hits goes to Rusty. Average medic hits, Rusty, Basel, and Simply Okay coming in at the top. So, let's see. The game highlight of the day, I found this cool one. It's going to be, let's see, it's a 7-on-7. It was a pretty close game, though. And what I liked about this game is that there's a lot of information about it, as well as being a close game. One of the big things, we got more Brisbane players coming in that we can compare the out-of-town players. So a few highlights from this. I think the DK 9K heavy game is pretty significant. 5 medic hits, 5 missiles. Looks like he was trading pretty well with enemy 3 hits. Twin definitely got the better of him in this one. But on the whole, his score is pretty significant and Simply Okay. And he did 5 medic hits on him, and he did win the game. We look at Sergeant Tucker here. He had a pretty high score, getting a lot of shots off on El Diablo. Kind of playing that zone control scout that we see him play. Basel with a 1.5. hit diff, pretty good. Beans with the 5k ammo. So we're seeing some players show out. This definitely seems like an arena where high scores are possible. Okay, Basel definitely got the little more on Twin this time. And then down here, I like this. There's a lot to pull out of this. So we got to see a lot of the Brisbane Democratic Republic of Laserforce players come in for the first time. So Twin comes in, 4 medic hits, 9k heavy game. Pretty good showing from him coming in against the out-of-towners. Definitely got the better of Ash in this one and DK, so he was really focused on the 3 hits, but Beans was definitely putting some into him. We also see right here the Rook with almost an 8k scout score, 5 medic hits, and almost a 1.5 hit diff. So a couple of these Brisbane B, as I'm gonna call them, players coming in showing off. You just kind of see a really nice spread of the situation of like where do people compare against each other, and I'll talk about that a little later when I talk about my storyline. But I'm not going to show any replays from this game. I just thought it was good to look down the track and see, okay, here's where a good mix of players all mix in. Players to highlight. I'm going to highlight 3 more players today because we're, again, short on content. But Lizzie Lizard is one player I'm going to highlight. So Lizzie Lizard played in Nats last year, 30 games, got a bunch more games and came in this year. So she's not a rookie technically, but in many ways she feels like one. But I like this game on Commander from her. And it was a lost game, only 8k, but I want to highlight a few things. One, she was playing against a Brew commander and an Ash heavy, whereas it was her and Redneck Tech on 3 hits in this one. So already the matchup is pretty, I would say, stacked against her, as well as having Rusty on the other team on medic. by the way, getting almost a 6 hit diff, which is completely insane. Oh my goodness. It's just crazy to think about. Some of these numbers are almost, I've just never seen anything like them. But if we look at Lizzie Lizard's stats, so she actually outshot Ash VD on heavy. And she put a missile into Brew, and yeah, the hit diff ratio here is pretty bad, but considering where she's coming from, I'm extremely proud of her. This was a hard matchup, and it's one where I wouldn't blame her necessarily for feeling pretty demoralized seeing who's across the field from her. But on the whole, her team survived, and it was a pretty good showing, and putting a missile into Brew is no joke. That guy knows how to bend over while he's running away in an L shape. So I commend Lizzie for that. Also, one highlight is this is a win game. Rusty on heavy definitely helps, but Lizzie coming in on scout. We are up against a Brew heavy. Looks like he got killed out kind of early this game, along with the medic. But there was a good chunk of the game where he was alive. And Simply Okay Commander, who I highlighted yesterday, I consider him one of the higher tier players in this grouping. So Lizzie Lizard in this game, we can see a 19-7 hit diff on Simply Okay and a 15-6 hit diff against Brew Heavy, 12-4 against Sabo. Like, all three of those players are having a great showing so far. And I think this is a prime example that Lizzie Lizard has the potential to play at a high tier. Additionally, again, kind of like we talked about yesterday, it shows a high level of intellect when scouts are prioritizing 3 hits as their targets. And you can see Lizzie Lizard doing that here. So I want to shout out Lizzie Lizard as someone who I'm noticing is displaying some potential that maybe other people didn't see in her. Another player I want to highlight is Rook. Now, Rook is one of the biggest unknowns, I think, from those of us coming in from the US as far as who are the BDRL. Rook didn't have a player spotlight, no interview. We don't know really anything about him. All we know is that he's one of the guys on this team. But this is our first time getting to see him in context with other US players. So a couple games I'm going to highlight. This is a lost game. We saw this as the game that was highlighted earlier. But looking at his score, the 5 medic hits and almost the 1.5 hit diff, you definitely see him going up against the 3 hits. Now, his hit diff isn't crazy against these guys, but he ends up getting a lot of hits off on the resupply. So I'm wondering if he's a more aggressive player, if he finds himself breaking in and attacking as part of his style on scout. Getting 8K against this team would be pretty difficult. And I imagine he had a hard time of it with players like Sergeant Tucker and Basel kind of watching the sides on the scout roll. Additionally, wanted to highlight this game, another loss by the Rook, but I highlight losses a lot because I think they show players fighting uphill, right? Sometimes a player looks really good in a win when they had it so easy because their team was dominating. But when your team is losing, that's another story. And we have a 27 MVP medic game, 5K, 3.27 hit diff. I just want to see who Wally shot. 7-2 on the heavy, 9-0 on Waffle Raptor the Babe, 5-1 on Lizzie. This was an insane medic game. I have to imagine that the Rook was doing a lot of his own defending in this game. So big question marks on the BDRL. We have a little more insight on the Rook, and it seems like he is one of the higher tier players in Brisbane, and that he can compete with the upper tier players coming in from the US. Last player I'll highlight is Leech. Leech did catch my eye yesterday, and I was thinking of highlighting him. Decided not to, and we got a little more stuff today out, and I'm like, okay, let's check it out. So this is a lost game. It's not very close. It's not a stomping by any means. But we look at Leech in this game, 1.3 hit diff. And I once again look at the splits on this. That's 40 hits into the 3 hits. So Leech is very purposefully targeting 3 hits when he's playing scout. Now, Rusty 14-5, I can't blame him, but 10-2 on Ash. So whatever Leech was doing in this game, I think he was doing the right things. I think he was doing things that were really going to help his team have a chance at coming back to win this game. Just taking down those 3 hits is such a valuable exchange of the scout's time versus the 3 hits time. So I really like that from Leech. I'm also going to highlight this game right here. So this is a 9K scout game. On the other team, to be honest, it wasn't the strongest team to fight against. Taipan scout putting up 14K. This guy is insane, and Taipan doesn't get talked about enough. But what we do see from Leech against this team, 2.29 hit diff, and with the internet loading, we will find out who exactly he shot. Yes, this is one 36 hits onto the enemy heavy in Tomik, and 17-3 against the enemy commander. So I don't know. I think Auckland A was one of the biggest question marks for me regarding their lineup. I said in the show, if Guy Next Door isn't playing heavy, could it be like a Leech Morange 3-hit combo? So far, Leech is showing he already had good offensive potential in Auckland in 23, and he has experience in this arena before. But if nothing else, I think he's proving right now he is a very valuable scout, and he targets 3 hits in a very good way. Team highlight, I'm going to highlight the Brisbane Democratic Republic of Laserforce, as these guys showed up today. I think pretty much everybody, I didn't see Prawn Boy or Screever on the scoreboard, but most of them were there playing with the out-of-towners, which I think is a smart move on them. It's a good way to watch and observe and see who are the out-of-towners, what are they bringing to the table, what strategies did they implement. And I do think they had a good showing today, especially from Twin and Rook. We saw some pretty high scores in their ability to, combat other players. I'd be interested to see, is this just them at the beginning before we have any actual coordinated play? Are they going to fall off? Are they going to rise when they're all together on the same team? I think that is, that'll get me to my favorite storyline. So my favorite storyline, I think, right now is BDRL versus the top USA players. Who is better? I think that's kind of the mystery when we look at these stats. Because you can see there's a really, it's almost like back and forth. Rook, Fireball, Twin, Beans, Sabo, Fear Turkey, and Donta down here. And MVP isn't everything. These players are going to play roles on their teams. And when you're looking at these randomized games, it's so much more chaotic, and you can get away with a lot sillier stuff than you can when you are playing in a structured team environment. So that's my big storyline in my mind. I'm wondering, when we get to actual competitive games on the team, I feel like either the US players are going to rise above the Brisbane B players, or the Brisbane B players are going to rise firmly above the US players. And we'll see who's going to have to climb throughout the week. Maybe it'll be pretty even. But they come from such different areas. The B team has the home field advantage. They've been practicing together for the last few months. Meanwhile, all these other players just have tons of experience in way more arenas, but they haven't been practicing together, and they don't have as many games in Brisbane. So it's really interesting to see what wins out, overall experience or home field experience, recent practice, or lots of practice over a long period of time. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to find out. But that concludes my ZAP report today. So thank you for giving us something wonderful to watch. I'll see you all tomorrow. Keep on playing.